those of you wondering, I did a video Monday morning talk about the fact that I was getting ready to go to Raw Monday night here in Richmond, Virginia. Well, unfortunately, there was a snafu, and the person that was supposed to get us the tickets had apparently given them away to somebody else. And nonetheless, I ended up watching Raw from home here in Richmond, even though they were just right downtown off of Broad Street at the Richmond Coliseum. Oh well. Unfortunately, it seems like I missed a relatively good show to go to in person. Imagine that. The last Raw of 2013. And I do have to say that if you're a fan of good in-ring wrestling as part of your television show, then this was a very good Raw to watch this week. You know, you had CM Punk versus Seth Rollins, the type of match you would expect these two guys to have. Very, very good type of match. A chance for Seth Rollins to really, step up and show out a little bit. Because when you look at it, he doesn't have, I don't believe, the charisma or the mic skills of a Dean Ambrose, and he doesn't have the God-given size and look of a Roman Reigns. So Seth Rollins is going to have to take a different path to become a star. It doesn't mean that he can't successfully take that path, and it doesn't mean that he can't be potentially every bit the star of a Reigns or an Ambrose, if not more so. A guy like a Rollins could potentially get over huge in his own way, see somebody like a Jeff Hardy. And for all of those that always sit there and want to shit on that comparison, you could do a lot worse than being a Jeff Hardy in terms of star power, especially in the WWE. Just think about that for a second. Just really think about that. But a real kind of star-making match for Seth Rollins, even if he loses. You had Curtis Axel, Dolph Ziggler. Kind of short, but not really all that bad. An actually really surprising, very good Intercontinental Championship match between Fandango and Big E Langston. And then, of course, the matches at the end of the night, the gauntlet match with Bryan taking on Harper, and then Rowan, and then the Bray Wyatt part at the end, which I'll talk about in a little bit. If you were a fan of in-ring wrestling, if that's your deal, if that's what gets your rocks off the most, then this was actually, I feel, a pretty solid Raw. And with the match quality on this show, I think it actually made it a good Raw. This is a Raw that I would have been able to get to and make it to in person, because these are the type of things that you appreciate more when you're able to see them live up close and in person, is really good in-ring action. Sometimes it's something that's lost as a television viewer because the commentators could ruin it, or the match just isn't appealing to you. But if you were there in person and you didn't have that asinine, shitty-ass commentary in your ear the whole time, you'd be like, man, I'm really into this. This is really, really damn good. So matches aside, that was a really good part of this week's Raw. And in general, I thought this was a good show. I want to talk about some other things pertaining to Raw right now. So whereas in-ring action and really good matches can make a live event really, really good when you go there in person, on the flip side, I think there are some advantages to being able to watch on television from the comfort of your home. You maybe sometimes pay attention, and some may say to our detriment sometimes, and I understand that, that you pay attention to other things. You're able to more easily pick up small things and pick up on little things throughout the course of the show. And, so that's what I did a lot throughout this week's Raw. Still doesn't mean that it was a bad show, because in general, until we got to the end, I thought it was actually a pretty good Raw through and through. A lot better effort than I expected this company to give us, right before the new year and the last show of 2013. When you look at the way the show kicks off with CM Punk, you got a baby face that's over, and he's over quite a bit. One of those almost unanimous baby faces, at least for the people that go there to the events, the live crowd, and for, a good portion of the television audience. So it's a good idea to start off with a guy like that. But I found it interesting when you bring the Shield out, CM Punk says that they've established that nobody can beat them 1-on-3, even though CM Punk just did it at TLC, didn't he? That really stood out to me. I'm like, wait, so even CM Punk is forgetting that he just beat these three guys at TLC, and the WWE really thinks we are that stupid to forget something that happened just a little over 2 weeks ago? I mean, come on. I could see if this was something that happened a year, 2, 3 years ago, but it happened 2 weeks ago. Come on. Just a little suggestion from me to the WWE. Take it for what you want. You're sitting here and you're trying to tease up on the breakup of the Shield. You're starting to obviously want to show the cracks and get ready to split the group off. I thought it was very interesting and very cool that Roman Reigns was getting a babyface pop and a babyface chant, a babyface reaction. That was very interesting. So that lets you know if the WWE does choose to do the right thing, and that's send off Roman Reigns on a big babyface push in 2014, that the crowd, at least initially, may be open and very receptive to it. That's a good thing. That means the WWE is understanding which guy to go with, and that the crowd is wanting you to go that way. It doesn't always happen that way, especially with baby faces in the WWE. That's a good thing. But, when they're sitting there and setting up the whole argument of who's the best in the group as Punk presented it and who should take on CM Punk tonight, my thing is that if you're going to have Seth Rollins face him, if you really want to create some animosity in the group, why not have Seth Rollins go over? Really put Seth Rollins on the map. One loss to a Seth Rollins by a CM Punk will not hurt him, even though you could sit there and say, well, a couple weeks ago we just beat him 1-on-3 and now he loses to one of them 1-on-1. I get that. That's the type of shit that I would usually say, so I definitely get that. But how about creating some real tension or some real animosity here by either having Roman Reigns face him 1-on-1 and beat him, or having Seth Rollins face CM Punk 1-on-1 and beat him? And especially in the case of Seth Rollins, it would be by far the biggest victory of his career and be a real statement victory and a big-time moment, a signature victory heading into 2014. And to me, that would do more to create a lot more tension and animosity in the group if somebody like Dean Ambrose can't get the job done, but somebody like Roman Reigns or Seth Rollins can. It's just my opinion. I don't know about anybody else, but did they notice what Stephanie McMahon was wearing on Raw? And the fact that it was really, really not very flattering at all to her and her body. Stephanie McMahon is a woman with a good body. She looks good. She definitely would fall into the category of being a MILF. And you would think if you were going to have her appear on television, you would maybe want to accentuate that sexuality and accentuate that great fucking rocking body of hers by not having her wear that, it almost looked like a muumuu blazer. Ugh, man. But of course, she was out there to announce one thing and one thing alone. And that is at the Royal Rumble, we are indeed getting John Cena versus Randy Orton. Like, that's some big surprise for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. That's supposed to be a surprise. Doesn't Cena have a rematch coming? Either way, I love how they tried to announce this as some big type of freaking deal, set it up as like it's the biggest thing in the damn world, and the crowd largely took a pass at it. And deep down, you know what? Maybe that's why I enjoyed the show so much this week. For 1 week, there really was no Cena and there really was no Orton. Although the video montage for Randy Orton was really damn good. And, I'm sitting there watching. I'm like, look at me. I don't have my baby oil, my sleeve tattoos, my raging ring boner, and or my construction worker beard. Shame on me indeed. One common complaint I have about the WWE is that the babyfaces win way too damn much. Like Punk beating Seth Rollins, Dolph Ziggler beating Curtis Axel, Biggie Langston beating Fandango. Didn't R-Truth beat Brodus Clay? The point I'm getting at is, I wouldn't have Biggie Langston lose to Fandango, yes, but they just have the baby faces win too damn often. Ultimately, the best way in the business, it's always been, and I think it still should be that way, that you draw money is to have a real legit villain. And the way to make somebody a real legit bad guy is to have them do real legit bad guy things and also have them win a lot. But not in the WWE anymore. And they wonder why, their crowds are split and the fans are cheering the heels and booing the baby faces. It's because the heels get booked to lose so damn often that they end up becoming the baby faces. And that's what I found funny when people were talking about Vince McMahon saying there's no more baby faces or heels. In terms of reactions, you're absolutely right, Vince, and you've created that environment because your faces win too damn much, your heels lose too damn much, so the crowd gets behind the heels and cheers them as the faces. They resent the monster pushes of the faces, and they're always fucking winning, so then they become the heels, and your crowd boos them. But it's something that even as I was watching Raw, I'm like, damn, the faces go over all the damn time. You're never going to create any real monster villains there. You're never going to create any credible heels doing it that way, period. Well, I've got some good news and I've got some bad news. The first good news is that I got to see Alex Riley on Raw. Hot diggity damn hot grits. Also got some bad news. I don't know what the hell is going on with your hair, Rye, but that is ridiculous. That is like the complete opposite of being a varsity villain. There is no way in the world that just a randomly named diva like a Maurice would ever want to even consider probing you anally with her alien-like fingers while she's eating a chocolate bar. Now, I've also got some good news and some bad news. The good news is Dolph Ziggler made yet another appearance on the show during the segment. The bad news is to me, it kind of made him look like a dumbass. He's out there partying and having a good old time, and oh, Christ. Dolph Ziggler being made to look stupid. Imagine that. A-Rye, trust me, as a guy who sometimes lets his hair get way too damn long, your hair has gotten way too long. I've also got some more good news. Wade Barrett was on Raw again this week, and they tried to feature him in a way that made him stand out and feel like a big deal. Unfortunately, I've also got some bad news. The material they gave him I feel was shit. This is just another example. Every time I see this segment of hashtag Bad News Barrett every week, every time I see it, it just reminds me of how the WWE with certain guys just can't get a clue for the life of them. And this is definitely a clear-cut example of that. So one thing I did miss out on by not being able to actually go to Raw here in Richmond this week is the return of Brock Lesnar to WWE television. Well, let me ask you guys a question here. Why is it that every time they try to get somebody over as some type of monster, they have them scream? And usually scream like a banshee, and it usually comes across as sounding very idiotic. Why also, when Brock Lesnar screams, does it sound like a 12-year-old girl? I'm just saying. Now, it's good, I guess, that Brock Lesnar's back on TV. They're going to start establishing him as they get ready for WrestleMania. It's very curious that Triple H kind of gave him the stamp of approval after he beat him 2 out of 3 times. I'm sitting there and, when Mark Henry comes out and accepts the challenge and then Lesnar gives him the business and lets out the girlish banshee screams, I'm like, you know what? Maybe it was a good thing I wasn't there. Because I would have channeled my inner Smokey. I would have come out and I would have fucking had a cheeseburger in my mouth. And I would have went straight at Brock Lesnar. I don't give a shit. And it's a really damn good thing that Smokey's not around to see this. Because he would have taken his ass down there, hopped down 64, went downtown, right there off of 5th Street, off of Broad, to the Richmond Coliseum. And he'd have beat the shit out of Brock Lesnar. You damn right. You don't sit there and do that to his boy Mark Henry. Is this the WWE's way of getting back at Smokey now that he's no longer around to defend himself? Now that he's no longer there to sit there and tell you how to do your business better than you can do your own business? Is that really what it is? I call bullshit on this. Fuck the WWE for this. How dare they do that to Mark Henry? They better be coming back with Mark Henry versus Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble, and it better be Mark Henry going over. I'm sure it won't be. It'll be Humpty Dumpty Big Show, or they're going to have Brock Lesnar face either Cena or Orton at Elimination Chamber. They'll do some stupid shit. Yeah, WWE, that's real slick on your part. Smokey's not around anymore. You're going to sit there and try and fuck with Mark Henry. Hopefully, at some point, Sheamus comes back and makes a save and beats the shit out of Brock Lesnar. You damn right. Now, there's this saying that goes around that says, if you can't beat him, join him. Now, for me as a sports fan, back in the old days, it used to be, if you can't beat somebody, you work your ass off in the off season, and then you try to beat him again the next year. Now, of course, in today's instant gratification society, that doesn't happen. You sit there and get a call, and you have somebody say, hey, LeBron, hey, Chris Bosh, why don't you come play down here in Miami with me, and we'll join up together, and we'll win championships together, because that's the brave thing to do. That'd be like back in the day, Magic Bird and Jordan all getting on the phone together and saying, hey, let's play together. Man, you could have played 3-on-5 with those three and they'd have won like 260 every fucking night. Ridiculous. But I'm not necessarily a big believer in if you can't beat them, join them. Now, maybe I'm glad in some ways I ended up not going there in person. Because the way this show would end, I would have reacted in not a boo fashion like a lot of people did. I would have heckled the shit out of this. I'd have started some really asshole chants and whatever the case might be. I get that a lot of people are going to sit there and say, well, they're doing big things with the Wyatt family. And maybe they are. I get that some people are going to say, well, we didn't really see it coming, and they really have got you wondering where they're going to go next. And that also is true. So if you operate under those type of parameters, meaning those things being important, I guess you'd say more so, then you know what? You probably loved the way the show finished. If you sit there and say, well, Daniel Bryan was featured in a big way, and the last half hour of the show was built around him and dedicated to him. And if that's what you're into, that's perfectly fine. Then you probably like the way the show ended and love this Raw. I guess my biggest surprise comes in with the fact that a lot of Daniel Bryan fans are getting sucked into this. Like this is supposed to be something good. Or that this is good television. I'm surprised and frankly a little bit disappointed. Here's the thing. Is that just because somebody is your favorite doesn't mean that everything that they do is good. I mean, you're talking to maybe one of the biggest Hogan marks you'll ever see, and I cannot tell you how many bad, dumb, stupid fucking things Hogan's been involved with over the years. WrestleMania 9. All of his feuds with freaking Kevin Sullivan. His shit in WCW from 95 until the formation of the NWO at Bash at the Beach 96 was pretty much all bad. Lots of other crap was bad. His feud with Warrior in WCW, bad. His feud with Piper in WCW, bad. I mean, Hogan to this day still had one of the worst botched promos I've ever heard. Him and Vince on SmackDown back in 2003. Mr. America. Bad, 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 bad. Point I'm getting at is just because a guy is your favorite doesn't make him right every time and doesn't make him perfect every time. And doesn't mean that he's not involved in some dumb shit. I think even Punk fans would sit there and say, like, the summer of Punk. Now, granted, at the time, they thought it was the greatest thing ever. But ultimately, they know that storyline was a colossal piece of shit. And probably hurt a lot of CM Punk fans' feelings because they could have made the guy a really huge, huge, huge star and had a transcendent angle for the time and in a new era starting type of storyline, and they brought him back 8 days after he won the belt at Money in the Bank. But here we've got Daniel Bryan, who's been getting beat down by the Wyatts week in and week out. And now, after all of this fighting and all this going against him, all of a sudden now Daniel Bryan just says, you know what? You're right. I'm with you. What? What? This is not good. This does not make for good television. This does not make for good character development. This does not make for good anything. Let's have a reality check here for a second. In terms of the live event audience, the people that actually go to the shows every week, there is one thing that is beyond question at this point true, and that is that Daniel Bryan is by far, the most over individual in the entire company today. Now, fuck us, John Cena. I don't even mean that to insult a Cena. But Cena doesn't get unanimously cheered. He gets a reaction from just about everybody, but no matter how much the WWE tries to tell you that's a good thing, it is not. Daniel Bryan gets the most unanimous positive reaction from the audience right now, even surpassing CM Punk. And that is in a relatively short time of being a babyface this time around. So now you're going to take the guy that gets the most unanimous babyface reaction, the most unanimous support as a hero, the guy that the people get the most emotionally invested to, even more than your golden boy, John Felix Anthony Cena. And now you're going to sit there and basically turn him heel by having him join the Wyatt family. I don't want to hear the shit about, oh, you got to wait to see how it plays out, Schleich Daddy. You got to give him a chance. Why? When was the last time WWE actually really did something truly great with a fucking storyline? And I don't mean good or very good. When was the last time they did something truly great? Or how many times over the past few years have I heard the same lame-ass stuff about, oh, you got to wait and see where it goes. You got to sit there and do this. I don't have to sit there and do shit. My cynical ass has been made cynical by the fucking WWE and their bullshit. So no, this is not good. This is fucking stupid. You don't take the guy who is your biggest babyface right now in terms of crowd reaction and flip him heel. Also what? That way you can get him out of the way, and that way nobody can interfere with John Cena's love, and now you've got Batista coming back, and maybe he's going to be a babyface, or Brock Lesnar's going to be a babyface. So now you throw Daniel Bryan in there? For what? I mean, for what, really? This to me reeks of them not having a plan. This to me reeks of them having no real endgame with it. They may construct one later on down the road, but this whole thing of, if you were going to sit there and have Daniel Bryan join the Wyatt family, why not have Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family fuck with Brie Bella? Why not have them sit there and say, we're either taking her, maybe they call her Sister Abigail, we'll take her or you join us. And then you could take Daniel Bryan and you could have him join the group, and the people relate to him. They get even more behind him. And they sit there and say, you know what? I feel for that guy. He had no choice. He protected his girl. By God, I don't like this goat-faced, bearded midget, but I respect the shit out of that motherfucker for that. That's my dude right there. And now you could flip him off away from the Wyatt family, and it's huge. But instead, what are you going to do now? You're going to have him sit there, join the Wyatt family, and then John Cena talks him to his fucking senses, and then John Cena's the great big shining hero here. And as a result, John Cena faces Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania 30. Really? This is just the WWE stupidity in the highest order. And I'll talk about this more in a video later this week, I believe. Because this really has my goat. And this just really pisses me the fuck off. And I'm quite frankly surprised that so many Daniel Bryan fans are so okay with this. You know, the whole thing of, well, he's right about the machine not getting behind him. Well, when in doubt, heel him out? No. He's actually one of the few guys that gets the proper fucking reaction as a babyface. Why would you sit there and divide the audience on him? Why would you sit there and take the guy, the hero that the people want to cheer, and have him fucking boo him for no fucking reason when it's not necessary? It's so God-blessed stupid. And dare I say, stupid fucking stupid. And actually, I'm a little disappointed and a little surprised that so many Daniel Bryan fans are okay with this, or are so patient with this, or are so willing to see where they go with this. You know where they're going to go with this. It's back to Daniel Bryan being a second-rate player in the company, even though right now, as of this moment, he's the most over babyface for the live event audience on a consistent week-in, week-out basis. Because unlike John Cena, he actually consistently gets the proper reaction that he's supposed to fucking get. The people get the most excited about his segments. They get the most interested and emotionally involved in his matches. He gets the biggest reactions. You don't sit there and take that guy who's a great babyface served up on a platter and turn him heel just for the fuck all of it. Really? Is that what you're telling me, WWE, that Daniel Bryan's going to be? He's just going to be nothing more than a plot device to slowly get you towards the Wyatt family feuding with John Cena? Oh boy. Come on, man. Really? People don't want to see this. This is not good. And Daniel Bryan fans, don't be on board with this. You should be mad. You should be pissed off. You should be incensed that this company has sitting there and insulted your intelligence again by saying we can't make him the top guy. And even though he's the guy getting the biggest reactions and the most unanimous, universal babyface pops and cheers and chants and reactions every week, now we want you to boo him. You guys should be the most pissed off about it. The Schleg Daddy here, somebody that's not he likes Daniel Bryan, but I'm not the biggest Daniel Bryan mark in the world by any fucking means. You don't sit there and see me saying, my dream match at WrestleMania, oh my God, it would be an ROH whack-off fest of CM Punk versus Daniel Bryan versus Seth Rollins versus Sami Zayn versus Davey Richards versus Eddie Edwards in a six-packs ROH classic for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. I'm not one of those guys. But why am I getting more pissed off about this than it seems like most Daniel Bryan fans? You guys should be the one that's getting the most pissed off about this because this is the biggest sack of bullshit I've seen this company trot out there, well, since John Cena versus Randy Orton to unify the belts at TLC. So about 2 weeks ago. Fuck it. It was still a good Raw. It was a good Raw to end 2013. Better than I anticipated. But I'll have more to say about Daniel Bryan and him joining the Wyatt family and what looks like a heel turn later. What a bunch of bullshit.